Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care anyway, guys? We are getting set for some Champions League action at Celtic v Bayern Munich tomorrow. We've had everything except the Brendan Rodgers press conference as of yet. We've had some great news from UEFA that the Daizen Maeda two-match suspension has been reduced to a one-match, which has now been served thanks to the Aston Villa game, making him available and giving Brendan Rodgers much more at his disposal, much more options for coming into this game. We did the last video we did on the channel was how to beat Bayern Munich, how I would plan on setting up in the absence of Daizen Maeda to try and combat that, to keep us in the game and try and do something quite well. You guys seem to all really enjoy that video. The comment section was on fire, and a lot of you guys actually come up with some fun and interesting ideas as well on how to approach the game, as well as what you think the manager would probably end up doing. And that video was mainly me just kind of like, you know, what I think could be a good way to go about it, having watched a fair bit of Bayern over the last couple of years, this year in particular, as well as obviously the hoops as well. Earlier today as well, we had an episode of The Overlap go out. I was in Manchester yesterday recording that for the Celtic side here, being on the fan debate, which was great to see. We were out in a show today where we were going back over everything from the weekend, essentially, and they just wanted to know a little bit about Celtic in this one. There's another episode coming out on that channel, but this week where they brought in like a transfer lawyer, agent type guy, and he's like involved in transfers and all that kind of stuff. And we all had like a kind of question to ask him. It was a kind of fun kind of second part. And I hope you enjoy that when it comes out as well. But we're very, like we're buzzing, that we got the opportunity to go down to the Overlap again after being on it last year for the derby. We had a cup final preview down with, we did it with Sutton and McCoist, and there was like 20-minute Tim's huddle breakdown. Celtic Fan TV, they were all there, as well as like some Rangers fans. I didn't know any of them. I don't really watch Rangers media. I see some of the clips, but I don't know their names or their channels or anything like that for the most part. And that was great fun. So it was great to be invited back, and it was great fun. If you do catch the content, you do enjoy it, please mentioning here Celts, as it is on YouTube, or me at 23,001 in the comment section. Interactions just means there's a good chance they might invite us back again, so it's all part of the game of the social media aspect of it. So if you do catch the content, please do jump into the comment section on any of that, on any of those pieces of content, as well as anything you find over here, of course. If you haven't already, please do hit subscribe for more content like this, as I'm just getting rid of some notifications on the old system here. As we get ready to rock and roll, I've lost a day off my week, so it is battle stations for me. I'm going to be all hands to the pump, it feels like, for the next couple of days. We get Champions League tonight, and like one of the fun things about this version of the Champions League for Celtic in particular is because of the way the fixtures have went and the way they've scheduled the matches. If you remember match day 1, it was Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then every other week since then it's been Tuesday, Wednesday. So, like even Celtic fans that don't really watch other football outside of Scotland or whatever, it's been a great midweek kind of feast of football for me the whole way through, where you've been able to really watch a variety of matches, a bunch of teams. And, there was so many times where you could have watched one match and seen two opponents for Celtic, like early on in the competition, Bayern, Aston Villa, for example, and one or two others. So I think like tonight is going to be good fun for, I think we don't give up hope. Celtic in Europe, it's a huge part of, my love for the club. I was a wee minute behind kicking us on live today, right? Because normally I like to flip on a wee bit of old footage I've maybe got in my phone or in like my personal kind of side of the YouTube account here from like a match I went to like back in the day, maybe I had some Champions League action or some good fan chants or whatever, but I couldn't find quite the right one. So apologies for that. But I've been, that was my growing up. That was my childhood. I'm born in 88, which is a pretty good year to be born in. So like when I was coming out of primary school and going through high school, it was just for Celtic in Europe, it was peak, Seville's and Champions League group stages. Anyone came to Paradise, they were getting put to the sword. And, like with Daizen coming back for this one, like I've got no shame over being optimistic about being buzzing for this game, because bring on the Bayern, as we spoke about in the video we did the other day, and we've not even mentioned the news that we got out of the Bayern training report yesterday. I think I seen it on the train down to Manchester. But this game is winnable. This game is winnable. Like we have to go, like we know we can get our hearts broken in this situation, right? But you have to put yourself out there for it to happen. You have to do it. So I'm proper buzzing. By the way, we do have some new software almost locked and loaded, so we'll have a wee bit of an upgrade coming soon. I just need to get familiar with the new toys and the new system and whatever. But this is where we left it off from the how I would beat Bayern Munich. Now, there's been a little bit of a change to my idea on the back four. I recorded this before Bayern played on the Friday night. I actually recorded it before we played on the midweek, I think. So my estimations on the availability of Jota were very different back then as well. I still kind of have standby Scales at left back. Maybe it's probably going to be Taylor, isn't it? We could chat about left back in a second, of course. But this is essentially where we left it off. I've got a wee website I can go and double check for a predicted 11 shortly. But we've had news that Kim Min-jae with an Achilles problem. Now, I don't know if you've ever hurt your Achilles, even for like a little strain in your Achilles, you can be limping for like a day or two, you know, and especially if you then have to go back into a contact sport situation. Like, it's hard to imagine Achilles injuries turning around that quick. So if Kim does play this game, he's not going to be at full pace. He's definitely bangable in terms of, like, that's probably a really bad expression, but like, you know, if him and Ida are in 50-50s, you know, he's a guy you could see not complete the 90 minutes is probably the kindest way of putting it. So that opens up another little exploitation part here between, you know, like the makeshift back four that they do kind of have in and around that. Because, you know, maybe Leimer plays, but they did have Sasha Boy play on Friday, I'm sure. And Boy's played a few times now. But there is a rotation kind of pattern to recognise in that as well, potentially. But he's much more of a frightening right back for us, I think, because he's big, he's powerful, he's fast, you know, and he's got a point to prove, you know. So he's maybe something that comes into this as well. But I do think with Kim probably not starting this, let's go and check a predicted 11 because I'm kind of just aware of the news. And I say I've just kind of ran down to Manchester and came back. And the main news I'm excited about is the availability of Daizen, because that just does open up. Yeah, we've got a Bayern predicted team here. That's awesome. They do fancy Kim to play this one. They still fancy Leimer over Boy, but I think we can expect both to feature. I think that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. Expect to see both of them in the game. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much as I predicted last week, isn't it? Before the Bayern match last week. So they still fancy Kim as 90% on here. 6 players missing on Sunday. Paulinho, Gnabry ill, Perez and Davies due to their injuries. Neuer and Kim got a break, but I think you know, the actual detail on that is Kim had an Achilles, like, you know, issue. So yeah, that's not something that just disappears for me. Achilles problems, those kind of tendon issues. You know, it's like yourself, you know, if you just hurt it some other way, playing fives or any other kind of normal way, it just happens day-to-day life. So I'm quite optimistic about that. But when it comes to the front three, like, I do think that it then adds a big question mark, because you would think naturally on the current state of the current balance of form and everything else, it's probably going to be this front three that starts. But Daizen has been looking really sweet in that middle position over the last couple of games. That is something that we've been looking for, and potentially flipping that, putting him in here alongside Kuhn, and then subsequently that would mean Jota would come in to start this one. Feels like the more frightening of the front three options. That's what I want to do for the poll. So let me go and find the YouTube chat. Where are these guys? Sorry, all my pages are everywhere today. Where are we? There we go. Awesome. So who do you think is going to start is what I want to know. Ida or Jota is essentially what it comes down to, really, isn't it? Because I think Daizen is nailed. There's no way Daizen doesn't start. Who starts? Adam, the Ida 9. That's meant to be a really bad joke for iPad, by the way, or iPhone or whatever. And just the way people say his name. Mark Patrick Rare was on the channel not too long ago, and he was calling him Idea, and it was some funny comments on that week's show. But yeah, polls in the YouTube chat. There's a bunch he's watching on Facebook. I'm not sure if we're live anywhere else, but fist bumps to you all. Please do hit like, subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff on the show, wherever you're catching it, live or after we've been live. Really does mean a lot. Really does help the channel grow as well. We just broke through 11,000 subscribers, guys, and we are firing towards 18,888 at warp speed at this stage at the moment. So warp factor 8.8, it feels like. So yeah, good morning to you all. Tons of fist bumps on arrival. Good to see you. And that's the first thing to get involved in the YouTube poll is, do you think it's Ida or do you think it's Jota? Again, similar to what I just said about the Boy Leimer thing, it's very obvious they're both going to feature in the game. But it's just, how do you think the manager's actually going to want the game to unfold, expect the game to unfold, or, you know, like, what is his, you know, because it'll be quite clear his decision making, won't it? Like, if he starts Daizen through the middle, it is get in amongst them. It is go for it. Now, not that Ida takes too much away from that sentiment, but it really does feel that this is like underlining, underscoring, like we are coming for you, like from the off, you're going to have no chance, because sweeper keeper Neuer against Daizen and Jota and all these guys on the break and stuff like that, with the way Bayern's set up and the way that they are definitely going to come into this match, no matter who kind of comes on for the start, because all three of these guys are electric off the ball, in that sense of like they'll get back into shape, they'll protect the midfield, they'll give the midfield something to be shielded by. And then equally, like if the ball does turn over, eventually maybe even by a midfielder or by one of them, like they are all just diving into space, aren't they? Like all of them, no two ways about it. And the link up between the three of them is potentially the best around as well, in terms of the different pass selection that's on the go, the different ways they can finish, as well as, I say, the kind of runs and all the rest of it. And with these guys, Upamecano, again, this guy gets injured 2 or 3 times a season anyway, at the best of times. Never mind Kim just being rested from training because he's got a knock already. Like, and as soon as their defense, like, what's the best screen for me to look at for who would be in reserve? Because the only defender on that predicted lineup that's in the fray to come into the starting 11 is Stanisic, who can play a bit of centre-back, played centre-back in a back three for Leverkusen on loan last year, and has played for Bayern centre-back, I think, in the last month or so. So, like, and he's decent. Again, big guy. He's a full-back, so he's quite quick and stuff, but not a centre-back, So, I don't know, man. When you see that defence, I just think, like, that's the way I would want to see us going out. Like, I just think putting that team out, it's really crap for Daizen Maeda not to start with the form he's been on. Totally accept that. And I would, that is a tough call to make. But, quite equally that you can bring Jota off on the hour mark or something like that and put Maeda on, and you probably get a better platform for Maeda at that stage anyway. Not that Maeda needs assistance or needs that kind of handicap situation to happen, but like Upamecano being running on empty towards the latter half of the second half, and I say maybe there's been a substitution in the back line, and it's kind of like what part it was the Villa game when who was it off injured? Was it no? It wasn't McGinn. Who went off injured in the Villa game again? Matty Cash. Matty Cash went off injured, and they had to reshuffle everything around, and that's where we got one of our openings, not directly from the shuffle around, but from the fact that still the player like Bogard was still playing in midfield or whatever he'd been doing a minute ago before being shifted into right back. So again, that kind of opportunity could open up at that stage, and again, Ida's punished a team already in that state of play. So every reason to think that could be possible again. So the front three I'm the most excited about. I'm still the most worried about the midfield, and it's not because like I don't believe in any of the players or I don't like them or anything like that, but it is just the quality of their midfield. And like for the problems Bayern Munich have coming into this in terms of the defense, like the midfield has been there, seen it, done it. Like no two ways about it for all of them at different stages of their career. Goretzka maybe the older one here, Kimmich and kind of just off peak potentially, but could get another wee peak with probably a transfer in the summer or whatever. And Musiala, who's barely got going in his career yet and is already utterly fantastic. So never mind again when you look at the front line, I've not even got there yet. So, but I think like the main battles in these games is always won and lost in midfield. You just cannot be easy to play through. You cannot expose a defense. And when you do turn the ball over, like it has to happen. You have to make sure it comes off. We can't be sending balls out for goal kicks and throw-ins, that sort of stuff. The distribution has to be on point when the chances come, because you don't know how many of them you'll get. And like we've seen at Celtic Park under the floodlights, like so many memorable games for me. Like I'm thinking maybe even the last time we played Bayern, when was Callum McGregor's goal? Was that quite early in the match? But certainly Tierney's goal was at Leipzig in the Europa League, and there's been a few other games like that where if we score like quite early, in the first 15 minutes or something, it just gives us that, kind of control in the match. I'm going to change Scaldini out for, again, like, who do we think starts at left back, really? Is it Schlupp or Taylor? It probably is Taylor, right? But with him maybe on the verge of the whole Zagreb thing, I don't know if that plays into it. I think for Brendan and the squad, it's all about the best team. And I think ultimately he's probably going to play with Taylor, because Elise it can and probably will hang out wide at points in the match. But there will be times where he comes inside to get on the ball perhaps and links up, and somebody like Taylor might be a bit more effective in that situation, because if it was a Scales, like Elise can get off him quite easy, because Scales won't follow him into midfield. Scales will just keep in as a 3 or a tight 4, however you want to think of it as, pardon me. whereas Taylor will probably go walkabouts with Olise a bit more comfortably. Don't know if that's for better or worse, because then that opens up space elsewhere. So it's a really difficult balancing act, isn't it? For left back, I think in particular, is Schlupp ready for a game like this? Probably not. But like I did say in my preview, like for left mid, I don't think there's as much jeopardy or as much risk with someone like Schlupp coming in potentially. Maybe even that's something we see in the closing stages of the game if we start on the front foot, get some sort of handle on the match, and then recoil from there a little bit, just control the game out if we can. But I don't think I'd have him at left back from the start behind Daizen. Could you put Schlupp? Maybe, I suppose. Jota. I don't know. I think it's going to be Taylor ultimately. Let's see what the poll thinks about the forward position. 75% of these have went for Daizen Maeda already. So 25% of these think it will be Jota. Get voting in the chat, guys. There's bunches here. Fist bumps on arrival. Love to see it. Schlupp Mofo, good to see you. And that's the Pork Schlupp Express. I seen you changed your name and your avatar and all the rest of it. Good to see you. And there's bunches here. As I say, guys, fist bumps to everyone on arrival. Love to see it. We're on 11 likes. Could we get to... What's the first number we want to get to from 11? Well, we're on 12 now. Will we go for 15 for a Schlupp? That's a wee bit close, isn't it? I was then thinking 25. From like Nakamura or something. Who's 25 now? Okay, I think. But yeah, let me know thoughts and feelings. Is Schmeichel fit? Yeah, Schmeichel and Neuer, both, like, I think they're both the same age, both got the weekend off. And, there will be a bit of a goalkeeper kind of battle here, I guess, won't there? Because like Schmeichel's been huge for us, especially in the Champions League. When we're talking about having an Atalanta performance, Schmeichel's very much overlooked, I think, in the analysis of it overall, because Schmeichel was a huge part of Atalanta. It's one of his biggest games. Great game for him. Probably one of the biggest games, of his European career at the very least, and then where does that rank in the pantheon of big matches the big man's played in, Premier League deciding matches, cup finals and whatnot. Let's filter this to Champions League. And let's see the Atalanta game, 90 points out of 100. Huge rating from the big man. 6 saves, 4 from inside the box, punches, diving saves, a smother, which is high value. And then passing, was kind of fine enough, I suppose. We could maybe do with a bit tighter passing in this game, but he was a big part of Atalanta. He's been a big part of the whole campaign. Sadly, Dortmund, he was kind of a lamb to the slaughter, wasn't he? We don't need to really get into that too much. And like the Villa game, every game he's been great, and we're going to need a big night from him. So I think it's just a rest. I don't think there's any risk or worry that Casper won't be fit and available for this game. Good to see Cine. Good to see wee Cine Salo get a match at the weekend. Nice to see him finally get his debut. Is it already Mofo? Love it. Daizen's so fast, he served a 2-game ban. Martin Weir, I love that. First bump, that is comment of the day for sure. GT through balls are phenomenal. Yeah, and I think like what I mentioned there, like when the ball does turn over, picking the right pass, like Taylor certainly does have that kind of. And again, like when we seen Jota come back out here, it did feel that we're probably better swapping him for Ida. Imagine Daizen didn't start. That would be what. Do any of you think there's a chance that Kuhn doesn't start? I don't think. I think against German opposition again for how good he was at Leipzig. I don't think there's any chance of that, really. Keep the comments, keep the votes coming for Ida versus Jota. It's still highly in the favour of Ida, but we'll swap that for left back shortly. But yeah, on the left-hand side, the link-up, we've seen the interplay between these three guys. It's been, throwback, big time. It's as if they've never been apart from each other. Daizen's had a good workup on the left-hand side, but I think the work we've seen on the right-hand side early season and, in flashes really throughout has been clearly like the most synchronized side of the pitch. And it did feel like with the return of Jota, some of the stuff we got was just this side singing and dancing a little bit better. And, man, like, guys, we can do it. Boys and girls, we can do it. Now it's going to be right. Okay, let's talk. So their front line, we've kind of mentioned Schmeichel already in the defense, I suppose. Carl Vickers, again, we can put him into the Schlupp Olise kind of bucket here with Kane. Definitely not someone he's unfamiliar with. So there's no wow factor with that, I suppose. And Alistair Johnson, like, again, I don't think he's going to be terrified of Sané. I think he's going to be right up for it. So, like, man for man, I'm quite comfortable, but it's about service with these guys. Like, it's all well and good, like, if they're on the ball, edge of the box, you can deal with them. you know, and you can stop kind of runs and maybe try and block through balls passes that they're trying to make. But it's when like Kane is already in the box, you know, that's kind of the problem here. And many better defenders have sadly not got the better of this big guy. So it'll be no shame on us if we can't do it. But it's all won and lost in midfield. It's all about the service. It's all about the wide areas as well. With Sané and Olise, they are huge suppliers for really Kane, and Musiala comes into this picture quite quickly. And again, I'm coming back to the preview a little bit of, in this exaggerated kind of form, like this gap that does kind of channel through our midfield sometimes, where people can get round a blind spot of McGregor or just have him in the wrong position where he's been magnetised to the ball. And then there's just a gap for someone else to be played in and cut us open from, you know. So, yeah, the midfield is where it's won and lost. As much as these sides are building out quite nicely, and if we do sustain some possession and really have them go back and really have them try and get at us on the halfway line and stuff like that, these things might work in our favour, because the halfway line is probably as deep as we are going to probably get them when we are like playing out from the back and in possession. So there's not that much room to play in the channel, which is why like you do need, I think, from the start, as much pace as you can get just to take advantage of any little, you know, misjudgments they make, or just any kind of extra level we're bringing to this game to just kind of carve through them. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. I can't say that enough. I'm going to end that poll. It's 75% of you think it's going to be Ida that starts. So we'll kind of just carry on in that kind of regard. So we'll put Ida back in. Daizen on the left is how you guys think we're going to start it. And like, hey, fair enough. Like going shoulder to shoulder with Upa and Kim. Ida on form as well, like he is at the moment, is just as good as candidate as anyone else. And then adding Jota into the equation later on does lift it a gear. So if that's what we think it's going to be, then left back, I'm going to add Scales onto it, right? Because, right, so we'll put Taylor, Schlupp, and Scaldini, right? I'm just putting that there because I floated it out there, and we all know Brendan's a subscriber to the channel. And by the way, Brendan used one of our buzzwords, geography. So there we go. Let's see if he drops any other ones. I can't remember what other ones, but that we kind of harp on here when we're doing the tactics board stuff. But pitch geography. Someday at Celtic has been watching the channel at the very least. So I'll love to see a bit of that. Yeah, there's a bunch of these here, guys. We're at 16 likes. Fist bump to you all. The more you guys hit the like button, the more Jungle Gyms will come and join us, and we can up the ante in the chat and all the rest of it. But yeah, like I've been quite pro Taylor this Champions League campaign. Like, give him the chance. Like, he's been looking as good as ever this year. Like in the early stages of the season, I'll say it again, but I thought he was having his best year in a Celtic jersey in the opening, I don't know, I'm going to say 6 or 7 matches, something like that. And, you know, if players progress, you have to then retest them. You have to then reevaluate them. And I think Taylor it's been mixed in the Champions League this year for him. Like, been 1 or 2 games like Villa, I was quite happy with him. Bruges, I just can't shake this level of disappointment from that match. Like, that's a game I would have expected them to be a bit more dominant, let's say, or a bit more successful overall. I don't remember Zagreb being that great either. Young Boys, I think he was fine. Did he play Young? Yeah, I'm sure he did play all these matches. Valley only really played Atalanta in the second half at Dortmund, didn't he? Yeah, Slabber and Cabbage. Daizen is back. Daizen is back. Daizen is in. That's the title of the show, mate. Fist bump on arrival, mate. Hit the like button. Of course, we're on 19. We're trying to get to 25. It feels like a good number. Nakamura, Lubo, and whoever the current 20. Feel free in the chat to educate me who is the current 25. Totally forgotten. But yeah, big test for Engels and Hatate in this one as well, because like I've kind of babbled around there a little bit. The midfield is the primary battleground for this game. Like the attack, if it's set up like this, is going to be pretty direct, and we know what we're going to get. And there will be opportunities. There will be moments of space coming out for these guys. Limer versus Daizen will be fun to watch. You know, I'm a big Limer fan. I think he's a good player. Much more of a midfielder. You know, so that's kind of the job he'll be playing here. And again, maybe Taylor kind of compensates for that also in some way, perhaps. And I don't know. We'll see how it kind of balances out in open play. But Hatate and Engels especially, this is a game where for both of them, for very different reasons, they need to show they need to be successful in this game, winning the ball back, not losing possession. keeping good possession when it's required, because that's something that will just be a part of this game, of course. But also, again, like we've already mentioned, like you guys have mentioned in the chat as well, is when those opportunities come, the pass selection has to be on point. It has to come off. It has to set us up for opportunities whenever they might come, and we have to take them, because the first goal, if the first goal goes against us, it's hard to set yourself up so much on the first goal, because if it does go against you, it then feels like, you know, a lot of our stuff just kind of goes down the toilet from there. But the first goal, if it goes for us, is massive, and if it goes against us, it's really not much of a situation changer. So it's one of those ones where the mentality, the attitude is going to be the X factor for the team. And like I mentioned, I was a wee bit late coming for this because I wanted to find a really good clip of like me being at a Champions League game and just the noise and the atmosphere. But it's going to be one of those nights, you know, where it's going to be our 9th Champions League game of the season, our 5th home Champions League game of the season. I seen a post from Kieran Maguire last week saying estimated Celtic are going to clip £80 million from this season's Champions League. Now we actually had Tierney announced as returning via a stock market update, where Celtic reported pre-tax profits of 43 million on top of the bank balance of circa 60 million or whatever. And they make note in that this is only like a half report because of the change to the UEFA structure, yada yada. So there'll be another kind of financial, like part 2 kind of report. I think it referred to, if I interpreted the statement correctly, as an H2 report is what they're going to term it as at some other point in the future. But we are, like, with these extra 2 matches coming, like, we could clip like 100 million. If Celtic bag 100 million from TV money, gate receipts, blah, blah, blahs, bonuses and goals and wins and whatever, wow. You know, wow. I've already said on this channel, do you know, I really wanted to revisit my Champions League prediction video that I did on the channel, because I wasn't too far off. I made some big calls. I got a fair few right, and was the ones I wasn't right with, I wasn't that far off either, to be honest with you. And I really think, like, we got a really good draw this year. This is a major test and a major situation, Bayern Munich in a 2-legged playoff. But if our fixture list can be somewhat respectable, we're playing 2 pot 4 teams, 2 pot 3 teams, as well as the 2 pot 2s and pot 1s, of course. But we could get 10 games in the Champions League every 3 out of 5, every 4 out of 5 years. And if you can clip 100 million a time, you know, so it's party time, guys. It's all, imagine we got through this and we made it to 12 Champions League games in the season. That would be in the quarterfinals. It would be another huge tie. Of course, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I think that's the excitement level that Celtic fans bring to these games. That's what the atmosphere is like, we can do it. Doesn't matter who thinks we can. Like, we actually know it can happen. It can. No one's saying will, can. And can's the fun word that we have today here. Yeah, so, you know, it's funny, right? Because see, when I read the report, and I recommend anyone who can find it on Twitter, it's quite easy to find. Well, we even do it. Well, we have a wee peek at that as a side note. How long we've been live for? Half an hour. Half an hour is an all right time to chat about Bayern. Let me go and try and find it, right? And we'll look at this together, right? Because I think if I've interpreted it correctly, right, I kind of felt the same about the transfer window as everyone else. Like, we should have spent more. We're mad rich. We're getting more and more money, right? But sorry, I've just tried to keep up with the chat there. Sorry, but as I jump onto Twitter, our notifications are flying, which is great. Thanks for all the support, by the way, for the overlap content. Celtic report current year, I think, was the keywords I tried to remember for it, from a post from, was it Celtic CS or something? Oh, Craig's actually tweeted it out, even better. Oh no, have you got the link, Craig? Craig's threaded it, which is great, but do we have the actual link to it? No, I'm after the link. Is this the link here? Oh, this is the actual full report. Oh, I've not read this. So there's a kind of summary one. I want to kind of find the summary one because that's just probably a bit more content friendly here. I'm sure it was Celtic. I think I know the handle. 2 seconds, guys. Apologies for the delay. Celtic SC, Celtic Fins, this guy. He tweeted just a link. And it was like a summary. And you know, when I was reading it, I could just tell it was Peter Lawwell's voice or his statement that was going to be signed by when I was reading it. It just felt like it just like, see, when they normally do, or they've done it in the past, they've done it as a video on YouTube, and it'll be Peter Lawwell chatting for 5 minutes, some other guy, and they'll chat about everything at club. God, man, this guy tweets a lot. Where the hell's that link? Fair enough. So, but there's been a lot going on, I suppose. Like, where the hell's the link? He's retweeted one there. Did he maybe delete his own? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. I think this is the statement I was looking for, right? It's on the club website. In actual fact, it was like a London Stock Exchange link I clicked on last time, so it looked a little bit different to this. This is much more appealing. But let's mag it up so you can see it. So yeah, it's public. You can go and find this, right? But a lot of the chat, right, if you read it, is a lot of stuff is actually fallen over the last financial year, and they kind of explain it down to the way matches have been played and stuff like that. Like, you know, there's all this kind of important info up here in terms of revenue, kind of headlines, and all the rest of it. Profit from trading before intangible asset transactions was that 26, whereas the year before it was more. Profit from transfer of player registrations was 21 million. 2023 was 2.6, was it? I thought it was more than that. Profit before taxation of 43 million. Last year, it's up from last year. Acquisition of player registrations is way up on the year before. Period end of cash is 2 million down overall. So that's what this is referring to, right? And you know, when I kind of read a lot of this, and this is the main part here, I think. So although revenue has fallen by 2%, the total matches played over the period of 14 was in line with the same period last year. The match composition varied from the prior period, and consequently, this impacted the amount recognised per match in the first half of the year. In addition, as the new UEFA format now introduces games in the second half of the financial year, an element of UEFA revenue requires to be deferred and recognised in the second half of the year. Both factors have led to the reduction in reported revenue, but will reverse in financial year 25 H2. So I think this is H1 is what we're looking at, or this is FY 24 or something like that. I can't remember the whole, but that's how I interpret this. Profit from trading is reduced 5 million over the 6 months compared to the year before. So like, I was thinking, we're making money, we're doing better, the bank balance is building, you've already spent the Barrafield money and all the rest of it, right? But I suppose if you are, and like, I've been having to do a bit of this myself, if I can just be kind of candid for a second with the Dumbarton stuff. You know, I can't really talk about any of it at the moment, but like I've seen the books, I've got the NDA signed, all that kind of stuff. And like, if you were looking at this as a balance sheet and you were seeing like, we've not actually made more money this year, I can see where a wee bit of the trepidation might come from making a mistake, because making a mistake at this stage would put you back a little bit. Like, I do feel that we did lose some ground. Like, I was going through the transfer market in preparation for a video recently. Can't remember what video it was, but it was a live stream here on the channel. And I didn't end up doing it because, or the point, I thought I was going to find something that wasn't there, right? Just my impression of transfer business and all the rest of it. I thought, I'm going to look at Celtic's transfer windows over every year for the last 10 and see that year on year, we don't have a net spend. That's what I thought I was going to find. And then when I clicked through all the years, we love transfer marks, of course, friends of the channel here, but sometimes it can be a wee bit. So all transfers, yeah, just a wee bit. Right, so, and again, I'll just kind of click through this. I've maybe did this before with these, where we looked at it, and it's not every year like net up, but I think the year where we had like Barkas and all the rest of it, like if you look at that year, like we don't really pay for it in that window, but we lose money. Like that money is just lost out of the equation. It's kind of similar to the remnants of like this window, like the Rockies and the Palmas and whatever. Lagerbielke, by the way, we're going to get good money for him. He is doing well in Holland. If 20 want to sign him, who is on loan at the moment, or anyone else, we are going to get good money for Gustav Lagerbielke. You heard it here first. Thiago Home, let's see how he does. Yang, by the way, we might get a few bob for if he keeps up his trajectory of progression, and I think most people will be happy with that. But that window, like if that was in any way more successful, minus 25 on this window, and this was kind of spread over 2 windows because Vickers and Jota were loan to buys, weren't they? Alistair Johnson was in January. This is the Kyogo window. We've made 11 million that season. I'm selling Edward and Ayer or something like that, I'm sure. Yeah, this is this window. So we only made 2 million in this transfer window, right? But that is 15 million of expenditure. Like this was a waste. Like waste. 15 million. Think about all the numbers we're chatting about now. Imagine for the last 3 years there was an extra 15 million in the equation. Like if Barkas was a good keeper, maybe even we sold him for about the same, we would have got that money back rather than the absolute write-off that he was. Similar to Ajeti. Turnbull, kind of mixed emotions. Did we get some money back for Turnbull? And the loan fee for Duffy, of course, that money is just, it's in the ether now. You know, it's been burned and turned into ashes. Yang Ballon d'Or, the Yang Gang is, oh, by the way, someone came out with a belter of a comment on Axon. What was it? Youngsters Paradise. Love that, by the way. And yeah, chat's on fire, guys. We're smashing through the likes as well, by the way. Fist bump to everyone who's joining the show. So like I'd had this in the back of my head, like, do you know what? Net, we've not actually been, like, we've been great, right? But there has been some windows where we have spent well overall the last, like, what we're calling this, 5 years or something. So then when I read this and I'm seeing like, well, financial year, technically some things are a little bit down and all the rest of it. There is like all this other stuff going on, continued like maintenance to keep the stadium in good nick and try and, because again, there's a lot of chat now about stadium renovation, and that's a 9-figure outlay, you've got to imagine. And again, David Lowe, who was on Axom, did say you could mortgage that kind of thing, of course, which I think, again, that's a reasonable financial instrument to use, of course. But the way Celtic operate, they're going to want a big bit of that in the bank, you know, just as so they can sleep. You know, like Celtic are just ultra conservative financially. So like when I was reading that it's down and it's down and it's down, but it's about to reverse, then I'm okay to wait till the summer and some like now, just with especially the way the chips have fallen and whatever. Because we did like this is what they're worried about. They don't want to throw away another 15 million euros out the equation, you know, because it does then, you know, like now it's about every million going as far as possible, you know, and like so far we've did great with that, but that window did feel like, especially when you do lay them all on top of each other, like it just took some money out the equation. Oh, look at that for Daizen Maeda. Bargain. Bargain. So yeah, that's exciting in terms of the financial stuff. Feel free to check that out. It talks about the women's team as well as the club's earning profile. Cash generation from trading is biased towards the first half of the financial year, and we naturally expect a seasonal downturn in earnings in the second half of the year. This reflects the fact that European competition are largely recognised in the first half of the year, whereas the second half does not benefit from this. In addition, strong player gains from August were not replicated in January, so we didn't make money this January. How is that? Well, it wasn't strong, wasn't it? It was like we made a couple of quid off the whole Jota Kyogo thing, and then Schlupp was a freebie. Well, there's probably a loan fee on that, isn't there? This seasonal profiling is entirely within expectations and our planned assumptions. Our outturn earnings, can also be materially impacted by football success and the year-end assessment of player registrations carrying values. Taking all this into consideration, we would expect our total outturn, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and I could just hear his voice when I was reading this. Not in a bad way or anything, but I could just tell it was his statement. We made a couple of million in January. Yeah, but I think it's like down on the January before. I can't remember who else went out, maybe, but it's weird as well because yeah, we did sell. Yeah, like Bernabe isn't in this, is he? So this equates for what's in this report: O'Reilly, Bosan Lawal, Iwata, Mikey J, Kobayashi, Kelly, and O. O scored at the weekend as well, by the way, same as Yang. So that's just a bit of fun for those two guys, isn't it? What transfer window is this? 20? No, it's about 24, 25, isn't it? So who else has been out this year? Bernabe isn't accounted for there. Haksabanovic? That's probably not. Transfermarkt's probably a wee bit different to Celtic, how they report Haksabanovic. I think he was gone before that, wasn't he? So yeah, Bernabe isn't in that fold. And also Kyogo being... Yeah, why is it down? Have I read that wrong? I must have, because there's no way they would say, like, what's this, 17 million euros in on Kyogo and Bernabe. That's not down from last January, is it? Am I forgetting something? I don't think we sold anyone for that kind of money last January. And in this January, like, what did we spend? Just loan transfer doesn't even tell us the value. And Jota, where's he? 10 million. So there's profit there. The wage bill will be down to Iwata as well. Iwata scored at the weekend. It was an absolute cracker, wasn't it, by the way? Bernabe in January figures, yeah. I think I've just kind of read that awkwardly, but I think you guys who are more coherent will be on top of it. But yeah, so like when I did see like, okay, it is good, the financial reports, but it's not quite as like, you know, when I see pre-tax 43 million, like I thought it'd be like pre-tax 60 million at this point, you know, but I think some of that's deferred and they'll see a reverse in some situations. And then maybe there's a bit of a player trading is reduced from the last 6 months. Yeah, I'm reading that kind of twice, but Haksabanovic probably doesn't make the list, maybe. It is important to note with respect to cash and cash equivalents that over the last 6 months, despite significant profitability, 6 months, significant profitability from player trading and successful Champions League campaign, we saw an 11 million reduction in cash reserves from 77 million in the bank to 65. Key drivers of this were significant transfer spend incurred in the period. And again, I was thinking like, yeah, if I had 11 million come off the cash, I'd probably feel like, okay, you know, like, let's make sure this is all panning out. Let's just not spend all the money quickly, you know, like spend it right. We don't want that Barcasa Jetty window again, where we exceeded our transfer record spend twice. You can kind of accept that on paper, can't you? And the investment into the first team playing squad wage costs and our continued investment into infrastructure, including Barrowfield, Lennoxtown, and Celtic Park. And then, yeah, this is where... Oh, yeah, sorry. I missed this bit. During the 25 window, we acquired the permanent registration of Jota and the temporary registration of Schlupp. We extended the contract of Schmeichel, pre-contract agreement for Tierney. We disposed of Kyogo Furuhashi, Alexandro Bernabe, and placed Luis Palma Odenholm in Welsh on loan. Yeah. So, overall, a nice report to read, isn't it? Nice kind of little appetizer before Bayern, or appetizer before Bayern, but also a bit of a dessert from the Laugh Factory that was the game at the weekend there. If I can put the Bayern game back up on screen here one more time for us, guys, because I left a poll that I want to just go and visit here. You guys say 71% is going to be Taylor. Only 5% of these are in the Scaldini crew with me, and 24% of these think Schlupp starts this game at left back. So we'll end that poll there. Guys, we're on the Daizen Maeda number, 38 likes. That's a great omen, isn't it? Daizen Maeda to score first. And yeah, you've got Taylor in at left back. So by all accounts, then we expect this to be the Celtic team that will play tomorrow night against Bayern. Normally, I like to do these preview shows. We talk about potential man of the matches or score predictions, that sort of thing. I'm always quite hesitant. But I did say in my Telegram group I've got with my channel members, I think Celtic win this 3-1. As soon as I've seen Daizen Maeda is back in the building, 3-1 Celtic, it just feels, that was just my instinct. But, you know, you've got to be a bit more of a realist. I think, like, you know, I would really be buzzing with a draw, but a win would just be peak Celtic. It would be like, we are back, or here we are, you know, kind of thing. So I'm going to, for official purposes, I'm going to stick with the 3-1 Celtic prediction, right? But I do really think this is going to be like a draw, maybe 1-1 or something like that. That's kind of how I am feeling now. But I'm going to stick with 3-1. I'm going to stick with that, because I think that's the attitude to come into the game with. There's enough cause to think that we're going to get that amount of chances, and it's just going to be about, like I did say in the preview, we're not going to get 2 clean sheets. Can we get 1? Can we get 1 clean sheet? And if we're going to get 1 clean sheet, it's probably going to be at Paradise. Now, going to Atalanta and getting a clean sheet, by the way, is a huge cause for belief that we can go to the Allianz and keep it tight at the back. Could we get a cleanie? Could Schmeichel get a clean sheet in the first leg? Because we're scoring. We are scoring in this game. There's no 2 ways about it. Can we score 3? I think we could get the chances to score 3. I'm not quite sure we do quite hang on to the clean sheet, which is where 3-1 comes from, I suppose, in my instincts and my gut. But imagine Schmeichel was the hero here. Clean sheet and became the new holy goalie in full reincarnation here, because the kit's kind of yellow as well, isn't it? That I love a yellow Celtic goalkeeper kit. There's been a few belters over the years, but the Primero, the main yellow ones are the best ones. Gold, yellow, can't see us keeping a clean. Yeah, we probably won't, but could we get 1? Could we get 1? It could. The big green clean sheet machine. And I've been on to an AI image generator to try and get them to make an image to depict that, and it did not turn out good. Proper bonus, RJL67, proper bonus. Daizen is in the building. And really for this channel opening up, because if they do play Limer, which is on the prediction at the moment, my kind of hunch is, if I was Vincent Kompany, I would be playing Sasha Bowie personally, and I would just be like, right, that boy Daizen Maeda's playing, so you just do your best to deal with him. And then I've been saying it on the channel for I don't know how long, but Daizen is a winger. Isn't that great. He's like a wide forward. That's really his bag here. And if he is forced to play wing against a guy like this, it might not work out that good, So that's why I kind of think someone like Jota could deal with Bowie, Jota could deal with Limer. It's just, I guess it's a central preference, isn't it, for some of you guys? Maybe you just think Ida is going to be better rubbing shoulders, banging off these 2 guys and charging through on sweeper keeper Neuer. Then Daizen kind of penetrating through off the back of the wing play. I get that. And again, you still got Jota from the bench later. But if the curveball of Bowie starts, I worry Daizen has to be too wide to the line when he's coming forward, rather than in this channel here, because this is where he thrives, either for relying on other people or taking the chance himself. Similar to how, if you think centrally what he did for that chip goal, where he just runs off the defence, comes onto it first time, that's kind of what you want him doing from the wide area, is that same kind of movement. But if he is forced to hug the line to keep wide, then I kind of worry for that, But it's expected to be Limer, so go on the premise that that's what is expected is what happens, The 11 in training in Munich for yesterday had Sasha Bowie as right back. There you go. I think, is that on Bavarian Works, Gaza? Let me go and find that, because we love getting a wee bit. Because again, one of you guys in the chat one time said, this isn't a dig or anything. But one of you guys in the chat was like, oh, do you think Twitter's the news? And it's for football, that is, politics and all that to the side. For football, Jesus, Vincent Kompany's getting stuck in training. You think Vincent, is their defensive injuries that bad? Is their defensive injuries that bad? Big Vinny's getting stuck in. There's Upamecano. He's looking all right. He's taking a big slider from Vinny. But yeah, let me try and find that post. Alphonso Davies back in training for the first time since his injury. Sasha Bowie in today's training. They just don't mind. They'll show you everything. Guy in the blue bib. So yeah, if I'm Vincent Kompany, I'm playing that guy against Daizen. I'm not playing Limer. This is before they've left Germania. Yeah, can he let him run in front of the defence? Cannot let him run in front of the defence across the front of, artillery. Michael Elise, doesn't this just bring you back down to earth a little bit, doesn't it? But I thought there might have been like a training predicted team. This is like an ancient post. They might have came off the back of that. Do we have an update on this? Let me just hit refresh. 1 day ago? No. So yeah, that's the team we're expecting to face. I think the Bowie thing will change, but I think it will be Bowie over Limer. It said something about the 11 players in blue bibs, which is normally the starting 11. Oh, nice, Gaza. Could you tell me what account that was, mate? Bavarian Works is normally my favourite one. Not a trip for leisure. Rafa Guerrero's wary of Celtic in the Champions League. Damn right you are. Tough schedule for Stanisic getting interviewed quite firmly in the first team, isn't he? Like, they're not that confident. You know, they're confident, obviously, but they're not taking it for granted. Yeah. You tell him, Brendan. Is Gaza here? Do we have a shout for the account? Bayern play with such a high line. Front three of Kun, Jota, and Maeda could really get beyond them with their pace. Honestly, like I think like the front three of Jota, Daizen, and Kun would be I've just put a screen back on, but probably like a top 6 front line in Germany, probably. Like, I think if you look at the way the Bundesliga works, let's just go and I'll just change screens. Let's go and get the Bundesliga up. Now, there'd be a bit of adaptation to be had, obviously, because the Bundesliga is a big step up from Scotland, but like in general, like style of play style sort of stuff, like if we were to take on player for player, our front line against that front line in terms of pace, pressing, link up, etc. Like, I think that front three could easily get a game for Freiburg, for Mainz. Mönchengladbach and Wolfsburg, harder squads to break into as a forward. Werder Bremen play a little bit differently. Dortmund's a different kettle of fish. And then maybe Hoffenheim are the only other exception. But that front three plays for every one of these other teams who score goals. Bayern Munich conceded 19 and 21, you know, and we've seen that they drew and they've lost and they've drawn. Like they're not invincible. Feyenoord beat them 3-0. And yeah, maybe Bayern could have done a little bit better in that game, granted. And they only beat Bratislava 3-1, you know, with a pretty strong gung-ho team. So it's not I think, you know, it can happen. It can happen. So I think we're all in unison with where we're at. We need to win this game. We want to win this game, or we don't need to. I've tagged you in it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Let's go and check that out then. That'll be the last little. Oh, lovely. Oh, Mia-san Mia. Good account that is as well. Lovely. So this is what we're expecting. A team in today's practice. Neuer, Bowie, Upa, Kim, Guerrero, Kimi, Goretzka. Yes, Coleman over Sané. Like, they are shiting it, guys. You know, they're not taking this for granted. Company does not want egg on his face. Exactly, Brown Warrior. That's what I'm talking about. So they're not taking this for granted. They know that they are, like, vulnerable. They know they're there. It's not that they're there for the taking, or we should be the favourites or anything like that, but, like, the stakes are the main currency, and they are trying to iron that crap out right now. Coleman is quality, but, like, I don't know. I think Coleman is way more. Like, Coleman's done well against. Like, Coleman's definitely played against us before, and he is good. He won't be scared of paradise and all the rest of it. But I don't know. I just don't think he's as fearful as Sané, for Alistair Johnson especially. He's not going to play 90 minutes. Coleman, Sané could play 90, but doesn't often. But Coleman won't play 90. He does have pace. He's very, very good. Like here, very, very good. But I think AJ will be up for that. I doesn't really worry me too much. It's more this, like we just seen in that clip. Olise coming into these areas here, Musiala coming into those, like, this is the, do not give this ground away, you know, do not give space in front of the defence. It just cannot happen at any cost, you know. And sure, if they do overload, like, clearances are fine, but we need to aim clearances into this zone, probably, no doubt, as well. And the guys just have to link. They have to make it happen. And once the balance of play opens up, once it's not 0-0 anymore, either hopefully we are winning 1-0, then that's when game plans kick into effect, really. Because at 0-0, at the stalemate situation, maybe at 1-1, it's a bit different still, I would say. But until the first goal goes in, it's like, you know, it's pushing and pulling and trying to work out who's going to break first and where that weakness point might come or where strength might appear from. I'm more concerned about how CCV and Trusty cope with Kane. I think, like, you can keep the ball away from Kane, you know, like, really. I think that's the way to think of it, really, because Carter Vickers is no stranger to Harry Kane, former Tottenham players and all the rest of it, as you know. So I don't think there'll be a fear factor there. There'll be a bit of familiarity. You will expect that Kane is going to be mad confident about playing against Vickers, of course, because of the pecking order of where they were at Tottenham and their subsequent careers, obviously. But Trusty, like, I think Trusty's maybe the question mark, isn't it, in terms of, like, if he gets put one-on-one with Kane, how well he could do. I think Vickers, you fancy, won't give Kane anything easy. You know, he'll definitely make it hard. And I don't think Trusty has a mistake in him or whatever, but could Kane get the better of Trusty? I maybe have more of a worry on that. Maybe that's the way of putting it. Exactly. That's kind of the point I'm making, you know. So, but they would have definitely been, like, training together in pre-seasons and all the rest of it. So Vickers won't be like, oh my God, I'm playing against Harry Kane. What am I going to do? You know, like, kind of thing. He's the best forward in the world. He kind of knows how tall he is, how strong he is, how fast he is. You know, he's got a measure of him already kind of coming into the game. Yeah, he's grown and developed. So there'll be a wee bit of, you know, get that bump off the first time, get that first race on the channel to really see where they're both at now. But I think that's a nice dynamic for Vickers against Kane. Like, that, totally different to like playing against, in air quotes, like Lewandowski, someone he's never played against before, who's like the same kind of guy or the same level, where he's got no idea of those measures, if you get me. Yeah, it can. But again, like, I've seen Celtic at Celtic Park, like, where, you know, we're beating Barcelona and you're like, Messi went so long without scoring at Celtic Park. Like, I don't know how many appearances he made at Celtic Park in Champions League games, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, say it was 3. He maybe only scored in, like, I don't know, I might be remembering this wrong, but I'm sure there was, like, a stat for a while that were like Messi hadn't scored at Celtic Park over, like, a good couple of games, and I'm sure he has at some point now, but maybe he hasn't. But in any case, like, I've been 85 minutes when we're beating Barca, and you think, oh, well, someone's going to score for them, isn't it? You know, like, who was in that squad? Was it like the David Villas and stuff like that this world? I've not got a great memory of their team. I remember our team much better. Xavi and Iniesta was the midfield, Victor Valdez in goals, Puyol at the back. I can remember that much off the top of my head. He scored in the 2-1 game. Yeah. Did he score? That might have been his first one. Yeah, or fair enough. Yeah. So, yeah, you just think Messi's going to do it, isn't he? Messi hat-trick or whatever. So, yeah, there's always that fear with these guys. But maybe I'm just talking gibberish then. Maybe was there, I don't know. There was something, because I remember there was, like, Messi scored against, like, it was like one of those things, like, records in a calendar year, like how many different clubs he'd scored against. And there was only, like, Celtic and Albacete or something like that, you know, some random low pecking order Spanish team that he didn't score against in that particular. So maybe I'm just remembering some sort of more obscure stat than something over an extended period of time. Matthews was defending Alves at left back as well. Yeah, Adam Matthews in at left back. Danny Alves. Venegar put us 1-0 up. So Venegar, I think we're thinking about different matches. I'm thinking about the Wanyama Watt game. That's the main game. I'm thinking Barca at Paradise. That's always the game that's in the front of my head. Venegar, I'm not sure on top of my head. But yeah, I don't know if there's much else to kind of chew over the bones here. The game's tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to watching. I'll probably watch Man City Real Madrid tonight. I think that'll be a good one to watch. I think I've kind of spoke on everyone in the team. I think there's, again, I've maybe not went into our midfield too much because I really don't want to just talk about what I want to see from McGregor or what McGregor needs to kind of recognise in this game. But I think it's more about like what we've seen in some matches recently is the box-to-box element that Engels and Hatate are doing. If that's successful, then McGregor in this kind of central area here becomes a bit more effective. But really against these, like again, Goretzka can get banked up into this kind of area here with Kimmich patrolling the outside of the game, kind of linking the play, and then that's just an extra body to contend. So like the midfield needs space in front of the defence. They cannot let it go. But I'm looking forward to seeing some great turnover passes from the likes of Hatate and Engels. Engels, if he gets a penalty, it'll be good fun as well, obviously. And set pieces could be a big thing, delivery from Engels. But I think turning the ball over, breaking into a bit of space, slicing a ball up the pitch, it's there for Hatate and Engels. It's going to be on them to do that in this game. I'd love to see McGregor popping up and driving through the middle of the pitch. Of course, he's got a bit of history in this fixture. And wouldn't you love to see that repeat itself with the season he's having? And I wouldn't rule it out by any stretch. But yeah, the main thing I'm always going to be worried about in the back of my head in this game until, you know, the game is done or we've won it or we've drawn or whatever, however it transpires when it's all said and done, is this channel, you know, in between defence and midfield. We just cannot give them the space tonight. Madrid to win 3-0, says Schlupp motherfuckers. Great names. Honestly, I don't know how you think Madrid keep a clean sheet, mate. They have zero defence. Zero. Not keeping a clean sheet. Not a chance. I fancy City to win it, to be quite frank. I think City at home as well. If they're going to do anything in this tie, it has to be at home. And Madrid are quite wounded at the moment. I think McGregor is 33 to 1 for the opening goal. For the opener is brave. The opener for me is much more likely to be a cutback tap-in, you know, like rather than maybe what McGregor would be involved in. But hey, you never know how the balance of play is going to shake out. So relieved for Maeda coming back as well. Me too. I think like Maeda being in, like coming into the game before, that's why I made that last video, like how to beat Bayern Munich, because I thought, well, like with no Daizen in the first leg, it's a bit of a handicap, and we've got a fun situation on the left, perhaps with like 5 players or 4 players or whatever. So that's a fun kind of thought experiment to go down. And is there a solution there that could be found? But Daizen being back is just full strength, boom, you know, and we have been on fire, you know. So buzzing for that. Yeah, that's what I think, Slabber and Cabbage. The chat voted for Ida, but the chat voted for Ida and the chat voted for Taylor. I hope it is. If I see Jota, Daizen and Kuhn, I'm going to be buzzing. Got a So Rare deadline today as well, so I'm probably going to be live on my channel at 23,001, building some fantasy football teams around 2 o'clock-ish, give or take, as well as I'm sure there'll be a bunch of other stuff popping out on this channel. We'll have some breakdown in the aftermath and the analysis of the game on Wednesday night, of course. And I don't know, maybe we'll come back and will we have a proper dedicated section to that financial review? I'm not too sure. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, guys. If you're watching this after we've been live, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you haven't done so already, please do like, subscribe, share, and retweet, and all that good stuff. If you are going to the game, travel safe. We have a great time. Wear your lucky socks, bring your lucky scarf. It's one of those nights, you know. And if you're at home, make sure you've got all that stuff on anyway, because you know, this night you need as much stardust into the air as you possibly can get. And yeah, leave your comments down below what you think your score prediction will be. And I went with 3-1 officially. My man of the match shout. Who could be man of the match? Has to be Daizen. Daizen is man of the moment, isn't he? So I think Daizen Maeda. Daizen Maeda needs a big champ. Doesn't need champions. It feels, yeah, Daizen Maeda, man of the match. 3-1 to the Hoops. On screen there now is probably some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy if you're watching this after we've been live. To everyone that's been live, fist bumps to you all. Thanks for all the likes. We've smashed it. All the goals are happening. We're on 51 now, which is brilliant. Can we get to Kieran Tierney? Can we get to 63? Can we get to 88? Can we get to 119? Let's see the comments fly up. Let's see the likes fly up as well. Have a great one, guys. Thanks for everyone that tuned in. Hail, hail. Mon the Hoops.